right, yay. On behalf of MSU Denver's College of Business, Department of Management, and Center for Entrepreneurship, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Week. We are very fortunate today to have Laura Kraber joining us from New York City to share her entrepreneurial journey and the wonderful things she's doing for our world. Laura is a native New Yorker and a graduate of Yale University. She has worked in branding, communications, and interactive design since the mid-90s. She was inspired by her experience as a parent of New York City teenagers to launch We Are Fluide, a mission-driven beauty brand created to showcase and celebrate, this just makes me so happy, gender-expansive beauty and underrepresented broad definitions of beauty. Underrepresented faces and voices in beauty. Through its channels, social channels, and online content, Fluide promotes broad definitions of beauty, healthy self-expression, and positive self-image, and seeks to increase the visibility of trans, non-binary, and gender-fluid individuals. A portion of all sales are donated to the LGBT nonprofit organizations. And this just makes me so happy because I want to say it's like a growing community. But I feel like our world is growing in its acceptance of this community, which has probably been there for hundreds of years, all of eternity. So it's amazing that you've taken this initiative to celebrate this community of people. So I welcome you, Laura. Yay. Excellent. So I'd like you to tell us about your business. How did you get into it? What inspired you to start the business?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Becky, for the introduction, and great to be here. And I hope we'll have time for questions at the end, so I get a chance to hear from all of your students. So thanks for making time for me. I thought I could just do this quick, 5-slide intro about the brand to kind of give everyone just a quick overview, if that works.
Yes, perfect. Ooh, great.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to walk through these few slides, just to give you a sense of the brand, since probably a lot of you haven't heard of it. We're not a household name yet. So We Are Fluide is as exactly as Becky said, we're a mission-driven beauty brand. So we're all about creating space for underrepresented faces and voices, trying to move the whole beauty industry forward. Because historically, I don't think it has really served anybody, least of all the cisgender straight women who it's been targeted to serve, in that, much like fashion, beauty is very punitive industry. They sell to us historically, or still today, I think companies are selling to us by making us feel that we don't measure up, that we're not good enough, our skin isn't right, our eyes aren't enough, our lips, nothing is good. You gotta fix it up, buy our products to look better, to look acceptable, usually to men. So we're trying to invert that whole thing and really think about beauty more about as self-expression and fun, and starting from a place of feeling good about yourself. So the word joyful, comes up a lot, and especially within the queer community, so much online community and in general community in any marginalized group is dedicated to supporting people through times of trouble, through anti-trans legislation, to harassment, to the murder rate, all of these horrible things going on. But where is the space for queer joy? Where is the space to kind of celebrate how far we have come and to feel good, in our community? So that's one of the key aspects of our business. And for example, we name most of our shades after queer spaces, whether that's like a beach that's a historically LGBTQ beach, or a gay bar or something like that. So that's something that's kind of just like a way in which, through our product line, we have a nod towards that idea of queer joy. So, we're a small team. I started this company. We launched in 2018. It was always been pretty much bootstrapped. We've raised a tiny bit of money, and we can get into some of those details if anyone's curious later. But essentially, we've been working really hard and to try to build something from nothing. And right now we've got like 3 of us working sort of almost full time on this. Our creative director, Dev, is a beauty influencer and also an artist and a drag artist and a dancer. works also, in nightlife. And then Alec is our main marketing person, and they are, full-time, all our social channels, our email marketing, helping with our ad strategy. And then we have a really robust intern program working mainly with undergrads at universities, mostly in New York, though, especially with COVID, we did have a lot of remote, everybody's remote. And so we kind of have a rotating cast of people, and that's who our content and community team is. We usually have like sort of 3 to 5 people who help very part-time, creating content, testing products, doing tutorials on TikTok, helping with, targeting influencers that we want to send PR packages to, some, and we also do creative work. The people who are drawn to the company are usually people from a creative background. So I try to make sure that all of our interns get a chance to like contribute, whether that's helping take photos or do graphic design. So yeah, the interns have been a huge part of the business, especially because, as Becky mentioned, I started this company more from the perspective of watching my teenage kids growing up and thinking that there needed to be a brand for young people that really embraced these values and focused on gender expansive identities. But I myself don't really fit into our target market. So it's been really important for me to surround myself with people for whom the brand is alive and real, and that is their community. So that's, everyone that works for the brand is from the community, and I'm kind of sitting apart, like orchestrating this incredible team. So, and then the idea, is really to combine these values around inclusivity and making everyone feel welcome in the beauty space, as well as clean beauty. So we're not a clean beauty company in the sense that, we do have certain products that don't, certain products that have certain ingredients that may not meet everybody's list of what clean beauty is. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the beauty industry. It's like one of those terms. It's like natural on food. It's like, what does that really mean? But generally speaking, especially as a parent, parabens and phthalates are 2 chemical ingredients that are often used in personal care products that are potentially, carcinogenic. So like, that's an obvious thing that we keep out of our ingredient list. And then the other big part of our product line is that we try to be really multifunctional and versatile with our products. So that's part of the ethos around being inviting and welcoming to everyone. So regardless of your level of expertise with makeup, we want to make sure that you feel comfortable trying our products. So actually, well, I'll show you some of them. I think we have a slide that has some photos. But really, the whole goal of the business was to think about from a sort of human interest side. I really just felt like, wow, the beauty industry is still very kind of pink and girly and not really focused on the way young people are thinking about identity and self-expression. And when you look at what's going on in North America, you see A, it's a huge industry, and B, kids are spending a lot of money on makeup. And that at the same time, Gen Z is also identifying outside of these sort of traditional categories of cisgender or heterosexual. So the numbers are pretty startling, to think that almost half of people born, after 1998 do not identify as strictly heterosexual or cisgender. But I think that really speaks to the ways in which we're looking at our identities very differently and how we express them. So, and what that really means. And once again, so people are spending a lot of money on beauty, young kids. I don't think it's on this slide, but like girls from 14 and under spend more on makeup than they do on, clothing. So they just, makeup is really having a moment in some ways, in terms of like self-expression. I mean, everything from like euphoria to, all the celebrities starting their brands. It's clearly like really important. So that's kind of where we were coming in. But, as I was mentioning, so we really focus on non-prescriptive beauty. So the idea is that, make up the rules is our tagline. You can sort of see it on that palette in the photo there. But we really want to be, open to your interpretation. So all our liquid lipsticks, for example, are eye safe. So you can wear them as an eyeshadow or as a blush. And we also have these like crayons you can see on the left here that are eye, lip, cheek, and a universal gloss, which comes in a little pot that is also eye, lip, cheek. So it can be an eyeshadow, it can be a blush, it can be a lip gloss. So the idea is like have fun, make up the rules, play with the products. And there's no, we're not about like the tutorials where you have to learn how to do contouring or the smoky eye. We're not a makeup artist driven brand. We're more of a people driven brand.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So that just gives you a little bit of a sense of the brand. And any questions to start?
Hey, I have a question. So you mentioned something about the PR packages, and we talk about that in our classes about how you send things to influencers, but help us understand what kind of things you send and how do you tell us what you do and how you connect with these people and all that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the beauty industry is unique in that the margins are incredibly high for beauty. It's actually quite inexpensive to make these products, thanks to the beautiful, amazing factories in mostly in Asia. And so all the money goes into the marketing. So this is a very, I think, I don't know, it's been in the news quite a bit, like on Shark Tank, there've been beauty brands that, they always ask those kind of questions, like, what are your margins? And people are sometimes offended, like, wow, I cannot believe you mark up so much, like you're taking so much money. But the truth is, it's such an incredibly competitive industry that it's all marketing. Like I guess it's like Coca-Cola, right? It's the same kind of thing, right? Except that price point is pretty low. So a lot of it really depends on the marketing, and influencers have, become a huge part of that. So the question is, and then we see it a lot with even some small apparel brands, like Parade is an underwear brand that came to disrupt, the lingerie market, in the same way that we're kind of disrupting beauty, sort of saying, hey, that Victoria's Secret model doesn't fly. And one of the things that Parade did was just start gifting what we call micro influencers, which is usually generally people who have less than 5,000 followers on social media. TikTok is changing all that again, because views matter sometimes more than followers. But generally speaking, we're looking for people, especially as a new brand, what is that intersection between LGBTQ plus identity and interest in makeup? And when we find those people, we like to share our product line because they're going to be more likely to be interested in what we have to offer. And we're not, doing TV ads or billboards. Like advertising is so expensive, since we can't really afford to do that. Word of mouth is going to be our strongest way to spread the word. So we literally, and that's a great job that, for example, interns do, where it's, it's following threads, it's research, it's on social media, finding the right people. We have sort of a standard, little DM that we send. Sometimes people, depending on their level of influence, they might have in their, they might have listed their email address for if people want to reach out, but a lot of times it's just simple DMs. And then we have a Google form that feeds into a spreadsheet where we keep track of people who've expressed interest in trying our products. And in the Google form, we ask them, like, what products do you like? Like, do you wear nail polish? Do you wear lipstick? What would you like? What are your favorite colors? Is there anything specific from our line that you're interested in? And then once we get to know people, we tend to send them packages every time we have a new product.
Nice. So you support them. Is there something they have to do for you in order to, you give them stuff? Is there a certain amount of participation they have to give back in order to stay an influencer for you?
Well, so that's a great question too. So there's many different levels, and we've kind of experimented. So on one side, there's just pure gifting, which is just like, hey, let's get our product out to the right people and hopefully they'll share it. And then you sort of, it's almost like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, right? And then if somebody ends up being pretty interested in posting, then we can follow up with them and say, hey, would you like to join our PR list, where we send you everything? And, we kind of keep you in the loop with all our product lines. We set up an affiliate code for you so that you can earn a commission on every sale, and you can offer your followers a discount code. So that's one of the things that that's been helpful. And then a lot of companies, so we do have like what's called an affiliate network that you can sign up for. We're not, because we're so small and our resources are so limited, we're not spending as much time and energy nurturing that program as we should. But a lot of companies have both an affiliate program and a loyalty points program, so there's all sorts of ways to sort of draw people in. And then there's the whole other level, which is, paying influencers to post. So most,
Have you guys done that?
We've experimented with that, so we're starting to do a little bit of that. But, once again, it's risky because you don't know if it's going to pay off. So you're sort of spending all this money and then you wait and see, like, did people use that code, or are they just, or can we attribute the sales bump to the fact that, we paid a bunch of people. So we've been really tentative with it. But there's with influencers, you're looking at both trying to spread the word through those influencers. And you're also looking at trying to create some great content that you can put on your social channels, right? So if you've got some cool looking person doing a face, putting on makeup or doing a little video, or even just showing their face wearing your makeup, that becomes valuable content to keep sharing our brand and our values and our products with our audience in a fresh and new way.
Oh my gosh. Hey, so what about, okay, so this kind of goes back to when you started. So what were some of the things, like, I always think one of the key pieces for your product would have to be affordability, because a lot of makeup is really expensive, but considering that you're dealing with, or your main people are the younger population, possibly, is that something, or what were some of the other aspects that led you to the current product category or group that you have, like your product assortment at this point?
Right. So the assortment was tricky, and the price point also, we kind of just took a stab at it, and I don't know if we did the right thing. But we were trying to put ourselves in a place where we're less expensive than the sort of cool brands like Glossier, or obviously a brand like Fenty or MAC, which I think still has cachet, but is, a bit more expensive than us, but slightly elevated from like a drugstore brand like e.l.f. or Revlon or Maybelline, and a lot of those types of drugstore brands, as we call them, or mass retail, they can offer those prices because of their volume, right? So if you're ordering 1 million units of something, your price per unit to manufacture it is, 10% of what my price is, because it's a volume business. So all of which is to say, we kind of just tried to fit ourselves into a universe, like looking at the market and saying, how do we fit in, and how can we be affordable, but we still want to be elevated a little bit and have like nice packaging and be able to send out, like stickers or a broadsheet or a postcard with every order, like we want to be able to afford those kinds of things. In terms of the product assortment, that was also tricky. We really wanted to think about the different types of people that would use our makeup. So for example, nail polish was in our assortment from the beginning, because nail polish is sort of the gateway drug, in that a lot of people, especially like assigned male at birth people who may not go out with a face of makeup on, might play around with some nail polish and try that. We've got like Mick Jagger wearing black nail polish from like the 60s, so it's not unheard of for male identified people to wear nail polish. So that's like a fun way to kind of start your journey into color cosmetics. So when we initially started, we started with liquid lipstick, which back in 2017 was still quite trendy. We've got Kylie's Lip Kit was like all the rage then. And then we also had loose glitter, and, glitter is just very identified with the queer community, as well as kind of fun and different and, great for photographs. But the truth is, not everybody wears glitter very often or even knows what to do with it. It can be intimidating. So we've been gradually expanding our line. And I think that is one of the questions. And what you find is that the unique products, so probably our bestseller is it's called the Universal Liner. It's like a glittery liquid eyeliner, and we have it in 7 different glitter shades and also in black. And it is, it's all the fun of glitter, but easy to apply. You just kind of take it out of the tube and swipe it on your eye. You can also use it as like a lip liner. There's other glittery liners out there, but there's not tons of them. But once again, you're not going to wear that necessarily every day, or you're not going to use it up necessarily that quickly and then repurchase. So that was one of the problems that we found very early on, was that people might love the brand, might try something, but they weren't necessarily going to wear that like bright, hot pink lipstick or that glitter every day. So it was unlikely that within 6 months they would come back. And, if you're trying to raise money or talk to retailers, your retention rate is always one of the first questions. Like, well, how, you got to have customers coming back, or else the money it costs to market to get that first customer is astronomical. So then we started developing more sort of what we call everyday products, a clear lip gloss, a mascara, a brow gel. Those are great, but also very hard to market in that every makeup company has those, and most other makeup companies are spending millions of dollars a year marketing those products. So it's hard to stand out against, Maybelline Great Lash when, you don't have a marketing budget. So those are kind of the problems. So, and that's where the gifting really does come in, because if you can gift a bunch of people a product like a mascara or a clear brow gel, or just a brow, if you wear a brow gel, you're going to buy that again and again, and if you like it.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, now how did you said something about having your stuff made in Asia. How did you find those people to make your product?
Yeah, great question. So we started out using American manufacturers, and it did not go well at all. There's no regulations here in the cosmetics industry. So it's kind of shocking. And it's actually one of the things that I found most surprising about this industry, because I didn't come from the beauty industry. And I guess I meant to say at the beginning, yeah, my background is really more in brand development. I worked at digital agencies, marketing agencies. I did work at a few internet startups way back with Web 1.0, more on the content side. So I'd always been sort of a content and community person, helping businesses connect to their audiences online. And this is the first brand that I ever, this is my first entrepreneurial journey, and the first brand I ever really created or designed on my own. And so the manufacturing and really understanding the beauty industry was all new. And I think when we started, we wanted to be American made. We thought that was sort of like a point of differentiation, and it would indicate quality and like made in the USA, But really the quality in China is so much better. And you just can't, there's just not enough of an industry here, and there's there's no regulation. So there were suspect ingredients. So when we started transitioning we have a consultant, like a manufacturing consultant who's based in Hong Kong, who helps us source our products. And when we sent them the ingredient list and stuff, they were frankly shocked that they said these ingredients, we couldn't make products with this one specific colorant and have it imported into the US. So the import laws are stricter. So that ingredient, nobody else can use it because you can't import it. But if you're an American company, since nobody's overseeing the cosmetics industry, you can actually use it to make the products.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It's fascinating, which isn't to say that there aren't small manufacturers and small companies who own their own plant who are doing a great job. A lot of the organic skincare and a lot of the sort of really small batch manufacturers are doing something totally different. But sort of large scale skincare and cosmetics, there's just not enough of an industry here to have any economy of scale.
How did you find this person that has connected you up with your resources in Hong Kong?
Oh, so that was really just lucky early on. So the whole story of our business really derived from the brand. I mean, kind of, Becky, it's what you were saying earlier. It resonates with you that there's something different and special about what we're trying to do. And beauty, there's a million brands, and it's kind of exhausting. But because of the trendiness as well of sort of breaking the binary with gender, we got a lot of press when we first launched. And that's another thing, we can talk about in terms of launching a brand and how important press is and what role it plays. And we were reached, Ipsy, which is a giant sort of subscription beauty box service, like a Birchbox. They reached out to us right away, like within 6 months of our launching, and said, hey, we'd love to partner with you. So that we've had a relationship with Ipsy almost since the beginning, which has really served us well. They are beauty experts. They manufacture tons of makeup. They ship out to over 3 million people every month. They've got a list of, I think it's 3 million that are part of their glam bag subscription, which is the $10 a month little bag of 5 products you get. And then they have like a glam bag plus and a glam bag extra or something. They have different levels. And then they just bought their biggest competitor recently, BoxyCharm. So, they're an insane juggernaut in the beauty industry. And my kind of account rep who I'd been working with introduced me to a small manufacturing firm in Asia and said, oh, Laura, you got to get out of this US manufacturing. Why don't you talk to my friends? Maybe they'll help you. And it was, a connection that had, that she had from years in the beauty industry. And it really, it was great. And they took a chance on us, and they don't normally work with such small order size as ours, but they said, hey, you're up and coming, we'll take you on. And I was just lucky, I think.
Oh my gosh, that sounds fantastic. Okay, so you mentioned the thing about press and how important that is. I do want you to talk about that. As a teachers, we talk about these things all the time, and there's no way a person can get the really have an understanding of how important those things are, because you don't pay for that necessarily. It's how you generate attention for yourself. So tell us about that and how that started and how important it is and all that.
Yeah, great. Well, I think press is something that people, depending on the industry you're in, it can either be sort of distilled down to like being a publicist, like something very simple, which is, hey, we have a product, we got to tell people about it, we got to send it out to journalists so that they write about it. And it can become very rote. And you're just competing with all the other brands. So you really have to be, and I think a lot of people who work in PR have that attitude of like, I'm just, at very low level, just like shipping out products, sending out press releases, blah, blah, blah. But when you bring some creativity and thought to it, it's really transformed into something totally different. So I think, first of all, you think about your industry and what you're in. So if you're a software company or you're a gaming company or you're, whatever you're doing, you think, what is the value of the press? Like, what am I going to get out of this? And what are my goals? And then how do I match that to the kind of press I want? So, are you trying to get people to buy your product straight from that link? Like, is your product the kind of like a car? Obviously, it's not like someone like sees a car ad and clicks buy, right? Those kinds of major purchases we don't do, but the impulse buy, like makeup is one of those things. Or like, obviously the ads we see on Instagram or Facebook when it pops up, like they notice that you're interested in weightlifting. So you keep getting all these ads for like, sports equipment or something, so those types of things are more impulse buy versus if you're building a big company and you'll be raising money and looking for partners, maybe you want more of those articles that are about like, the founder story and what's the business like, and you want to be in Forbes and the Wall Street Journal. So I think that's what's interesting is you really do have to be strategic about like, how is PR going to help you short-term and long-term, and where do I put my energy? Because it's very time consuming. And so we just hired a publicist / PR consultant, maybe in October, really recently. So for like the first, 3.5 years, I did all the PR myself, and, getting an email from a founder that's personally addressed to the journalist and talks about the article that the journalist wrote recently that like that goes a long way versus a generic, email from some PR person. So I think it is really helpful to take that on yourself as a founder. I do advise it. We got a lot because of our story. We got a lot of those sort of big picture articles, whether it was Forbes or, even the women's magazines like Allure has covered us a lot. Or I'm trying to think, but they were a lot about like the story of the brand and why they started it. And, as opposed to here's a cool product that you want to buy. So I was always like the PR never helped our sales. I was always like, this doesn't really make a difference. I'm working so hard at this. But, Ipsy called us because of an article, all the, in terms of fundraising, and I can talk also about that if you want, but I did go on sort of a fundraising journey, which didn't necessarily work out so well, but, almost any beauty industry person or finance person or VC in the beauty industry will take my call because there's been so much PR on us and we have a unique positioning. So they're like, I've heard of them. Or if you Google us, you'll find an article. So I think it helps you overall, but it's that kind of big picture article. The people who read those articles are not necessarily makeup consumers, right?
Absolutely.
So the article, so then, the like BuzzFeed, for example, is probably the one publication that's driven the most sales for us. So when they put us in one of their listicles, top 20 new products for winter, or, summer must-have makeup tips, or, whatever, if one of our products is listed, those are the kind of person who's going to read through 20 makeup products is the kind of person who likes buying makeup. And so those are the articles that actually result in sales. So I'm just saying, there's different, and once again, we're a very unique product, we're an impulse low, you can buy something for $12 on our website. So it's not like a big decision. You literally might just click on it and buy. So there's a lot to the PR strategy, and there's a lot I could say. I think some of the things I've learned that I could just pass on is just journalism today is funded by affiliate revenue. So half of the brands in those listicles and the top 20 things, or my favorite Amazon products, my favorite Amazon products are all affiliate revenue, right? Because Amazon has always had that strong affiliate payout. So, but even the regular magazines, they make money from promoting your products. So they need you to be connected to an affiliate system that they can benefit from. So there's third-party content platforms. Skimlinks is the most important one. If you Google it, you can learn about it, but it's like all the Hearst publications, all the Condé Nast publications. When those writers are writing their little article, any link that they put has to be affiliated, or is encouraged by their editors to be affiliated with a code so that they can make a percentage of the sales.
Oh, wow.
Journalism today, folks.
I know. Oh my gosh.
So if you're not on Skimlinks or you're not on Amazon, you're really doing a disservice. So we got on Amazon mostly for the PR value.
So you sell all your products on Amazon also?
Not all of them, but a lot of them, yeah.
Because, we think these days, I don't know about, it seems like I try not to buy anything on Amazon, except that I used to sell on Amazon, and I sold more yoga pants on Amazon than anywhere. And they took only 13% of the sale, which to me was great. What is it now? Do they take?
It's closer to, I do FBA. I don't know if you did. I do Prime fulfilled by Amazon. So between the shipping and everything, it's almost half.
Yeah. And it wasn't that. All I did is send me, their system sent me an order, and I fulfilled it and then had to go back and do it. So it was 13% because I was doing fulfillment. But I think about, somebody making a lot of money on my product, and yet it was me making a lot of money on my product through Amazon too. So benefited me. Yeah. So this is cool. I was wondering about that if you were. Okay. Tell us a little bit about, we want to know about the challenges. So it's kind of fun to hear about that. Like the idea of actually making it in America was not a good idea. So tell us about the funding challenge. How has that been?
Oh man. Well,
how did you start with money? Did you have a pot of money that you put in at first? Did you have another job that your money went to that? Or tell us about the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, since it is Women's Entrepreneur Week, I had been working, most of my career, for men. And I had a very bad job experience where it just hit me after decades of sort of sexism in the workplace, I just realized I couldn't do it anymore. I just had the straw that broke the camel's back with not being promoted over a man who then later ran the company to the ground and they went bankrupt. So I had my I told you so moment, but definitely there was coming from me this very strong place of I just want to do something for myself and I don't want to be held back by anybody and I can't keep relying on other people. So yes, my husband and I decided to put in a little bit of our savings to start this. And then I raised a small friends and family round, which is people just saying, hey, Laura, I believe in you. I think this is a good idea. We'll give you a little bit of money. So what I didn't know, as I mentioned before, I wasn't from the beauty industry. I didn't know enough about the industry. And in, hindsight being 2020, it's clear now that it was a pipe dream to build a business on as little money as I had. And that as I said, also learned the margins are just so high in makeup that 90% of the budgets are going to marketing. So it's very hard to compete in this space when you can only spend 1% of what every other brand is spending, if anything, so really money is very important. And if I were to do all this again, I wouldn't start a company without raising significant capital first. It held us back. It's still holding us back. Before this conversation, Becky, you had asked me about going international. It would cost us $30,000 in each country that we want, and I have people in England, people in Mexico want to buy us, but it would cost, they want to sell our products there. But, if I had raised money, I could say, okay, yeah, let's invest $30K to get legal in that country and to register all our products and to redo the packaging so that we have it in that language, or, whatever the thing, like maybe it's 50,000. It would just cost so much. And it's such an investment because you don't know, will they reorder? So, but that's an opportunity I can't really pursue because we just don't have the money to do it, so I think entrepreneurs make a choice. Are you going to try to raise money based on the idea? Are you going to pitch it and say to investors, whether they're angel investors or friends and family or bigger companies, and say, hey, here's this great idea. Here's our positioning, have a pitch deck. We need $1 million to start, or we need $500,000 to start, or we need $5 million to start, whatever it is. And in the software world, a lot of it is money to build the product, which might take a team of 10 engineers or something. In the beauty world, it is, right? It's coming up with the brand, it's the website, it's having your first product line. So that also can be expensive. Or you build something, you show that you have this kind of MVP, a viable product, and then you try to raise from there, which is really what we did, because we were so early. I had this vision of kind of genderqueer beauty brand in 2017 when the world was just getting its head around, trans identities. And so nobody understood that I didn't really mean trans people. And, oh, well, that's cute, like a little brand for trans people. And I was like, no, this isn't just about trans people. This is about Gen Z identifying as not either male or female, but somewhere in the middle, and they need a beauty brand for them. And I'm like, well, I don't know people like that. Well, parents in Brooklyn, New York do, parents in LA do, and now I think 5 years later, the world has caught up and now people are getting it. But back then, I don't think anybody got it. And I also didn't have the confidence to think that somebody would give me $1 million to start a brand, because what experience did I have? So, but that is what I would advise to young entrepreneurs is raise the money first, because then if you don't do it that way, then they're looking at traction. Then they're saying, okay, so you started this thing, you somehow cobbled together money to do it. I don't know how you did it, but that's really not my business. You went ahead and started a brand, so you must have had enough to do that. But, your traction, you're only selling X per year. You only have this many customers. You only have this many followers on Instagram, or, then your numbers have to be really impressive. If they're not impressive, then you're not going to get the money. So that's kind of where we ended up, is like, we're still so small, and we're bootstrapping. So we're not investing a lot in ads, or, it's all organic, word of mouth mostly. So we're not able to, we really weren't able. I raised a little bit once again from friends and family, but we're not able to, everyone says, come back when your revenues hit $1 million, come back. That's kind of the threshold for the CPG category, consumer packaged goods categories. And once you get to $1 million in revenue, then the doors sort of open, like, okay, this is a viable business.
And it takes a while to get there sometimes, doesn't it?
Well, it's taken us a while, and the example that a lot of the VCs I talk to, they would say, well, look at Glossier, or look at Parade, or look at some of these other Gen Z brands. They got to $1 million in the first year. Those brands had also raised, 1 to 3 million in order to get there. But you don't get points as an entrepreneur for doing what you did on no money. You don't say, oh, well, you had 100,000 and they had $1 million. So good for you. You really got far for 100,000. Nobody cares how little money you had and what you made with it. They're looking at the results. And, it's not like an assignment at school where you're graded. Wow, you did a lot with less. Like that doesn't count in the real world.
Wow, that is so interesting. I would have never thought that, but I can kind of see from their perspective, if you know how to raise money in the beginning, it's easier to raise money in the, later on too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where it's not an equal playing field, because I mean, I am incredibly privileged, and I am incredibly privileged to be able to, put some of my savings into this, and to have some of my friends put money in, and they had enough to lose, because investing in a startup is incredibly risky. But there's a whole other level of person who, has friends that could each put in a few $100,000, not 20,000 or 10,000, so and then it's also just who So if you went to Stanford and got your MBA there, you're much more likely to know people who can help you raise that money. And investors want to invest in a sure thing. So that's, the investment community it's the risk amelioration community. They're saying, there's a million beauty brands out there. This is different. This is unique. But, why would they succeed when so many don't? So if the more things you can check off to say, yes, look how many customers we have, look at all the great product reviews we've got, look at, the more things you have showing that it's working, the more likely that they'll invest. And in whatever type of startup, especially like in the software world, it's a lot about the people who most easily get money are people who have software, who have started companies before and exited. So they want to invest in a known quantity.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I'm wondering about this because I wondered how, if it actually may have helped you, the whole COVID thing. Did it help or did it hinder your business?
Well, so it helped us in that, one of my indications that our ad spend, like we were sort of playing around with Facebook ads and things like that. And those first few weeks when all businesses pulled back, in 2020 in the spring, when everybody was freaking out about what COVID was going to do, everyone sort of slashed all their budgets. And for the first time ever, our ads actually performed for us. So that indicated to me that we were competing and we would never win on those platforms, on the social media platforms. So that was an interesting learning. People were stuck at home. People were more mission-driven oriented. So our sales did go up, our e-commerce sales. And then, I mean, this is such a weird random thing, but, since I work with so many young people and interns and college kids who, by the way, are all paid interns, not paid well, but definitely paid, they had nothing else to do. So they did a lot of work for me and for our brand because everything was closed and they were stuck at home with their computers. So, creating social media content and things like that. So we had a good year despite COVID. On the flip side, we've also, because our marketing budgets have been limited, we've done a lot of in-person events, mostly in New York City. And so all of those ended. And I do think that, like, especially during Pride, for example, we've gotten out at the community at pop-ups and different types of parties and showcased our products and let people try them and given out coupon cards. And those opportunities are really nice. And so all that went away for a long time, because even if you start going out or going to the office, you're still not going to want to like sample makeup, which feels dirty. And, so that's just now beginning to come back a little bit, is the actual events.
Now, if you personally didn't go to the events, did you? Was it more like Deb or some of the other people or your interns?
I did actually. I would, but I did when we used to do more of them. I had a couple of people I had trained who could do, who could really do it themselves. So, and then makeup artists. So we have a really big. We've over the years built a stable of makeup artists, especially up and coming young makeup artists who want experience. Because makeup artists is a really weird category where if you're a makeup artist to a celebrity, and that celebrity likes you, in order for anybody to hire that celebrity to do anything, the makeup artist has to come so they can charge whatever they want. So makeup artists make a ton of money, like the good ones. And so those prices have been really hard for us to match, because a makeup artist can go work, on a fashion shoot at the Today Show or anything, especially in New York, we're competing against so much of TV and film industry, and make thousands of dollars in a day. So for me to say, here's $100, so that's been interesting. But we have nurtured like a community of up and coming makeup artists, and then they might outgrow us and get bigger and better jobs. But
oh, that's cute though. I mean, it's nice that you're willing to work with them, because they're giving you an opportunity. And I'm sure nobody ever forgets that, those people that helped you get where you are,
Yes, exactly. That's really true. We get a lot of loyalty from people, and I think, and we also do try to gift makeup artists, because makeup artists are an interesting way to reach those celebrities. So that's been good for us.
Yes. And I can imagine the celebrities are the ones that really need that sparkly gel.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Okay, you mentioned something about Facebook ads, and for Gen Z, I always think it's probably got to be TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat or something where you would advertise. But when you say for like Facebook ads, does that at this point, if you're advertising on Facebook, is it like automatically through Instagram, and how does?
Yeah, it's one platform. Sorry. Yeah, it's called the Facebook ad platform, but since Facebook owns Instagram, if you advertise on Facebook, you might actually only be advertising on Instagram, but you're using the Facebook ad platform. So yeah.
All right. Well, then tell me about TikTok. How do you use that much?
We did, yeah. So we've been on TikTok for about a year and a half, and it's been slow. It takes a lot. TikTok is an algorithm that's very dependent on frequency of posting. And, as a big business running as a tiny business with a tiny team running 5 different social channels. We have Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. It's hard to keep up with them all, especially because making videos is time consuming. So our channel has been growing slowly. We have experimented with some ads, but they do seem to be working. So we have an exit survey, or we have an exit survey on our website. So thanks for purchasing, answer one question, please. And about 40% of people answer the question. And so for a while, that was our top question, was how'd you hear about us? And about at any given time, it was around a third of our audience came from TikTok. So that was cool. But that might also, but we don't always know how. So it's less likely that they saw one of our ads as maybe one of the millions of people we've gifted used a product and talked about it. And someone's like, oh, that sounds cool. And then you look it up. Once again, I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, TikTok, we're certainly not experts. We don't dedicate very much resources to it. We probably should dedicate more, but it's new and different, and yeah, seems to be really exciting.
Nice. Hey, now in our school, we talk a lot about sustainability, and I'm wondering how, just the idea that it's cruelty free and you really care about the ingredients. Tell us how the sustainability and, triple bottom line strategy has worked its way into your business.
Well, unfortunately, we do use recycled paper for our cardboard boxes, but we haven't been able to afford really being that picky and choosy about the materials that we use. But we do feel that the multi-purpose product, we're trying to kind of cut down on the wastefulness of having millions of products, but more just well, you can just buy 1 or 2 or 3 things, like a crayon, a liner, and a gloss, and use them in multiple ways and be really creative in multiple parts of your face. So it's less product, less packaging, less plastic. We did originally have glass jars for our universal gloss because we thought those were more recyclable. They're so heavy to ship, and we got some pushback on breakability, and so we ended up switching to a regular plastic. It's also recyclable. I think with the makeup industry, it's tricky because it takes effort to recycle them. It's not like your food products that you kind of rinse out, you really, to clean something out to have it recycled is harder.
And the polish has to be in glass, doesn't it?
Yes, that's true. Our nail polish is in glass. And yeah.
Nice. Okay. So where do you see yourself going with this in the next 5 or so years? What do you think? What's the future of your business, you think?
In a perfect world, we would just keep growing. And in a year, if we could grow enough to raise some money, I think that was probably what we need to do, so that we could then invest much more in inventory, invest in international distribution, and invest in marketing. So I think those are the 3 areas that right now as a bootstrap brand with a very small following, can we stay like a small brand and figure out how to become profitable in that space, or is there room for us in that, or are we just going to get edged out in that somebody else will take this same kind of idea and brand concept, and launch with $3 million and do a much bigger campaign with celebrities and things like that.
I can see how that is the worry. That's like the first to the market, the new entry strategy, or the first person there, the blue ocean strategy. Sometimes that's great if you have money, but that is a worry that someone is going to come in because your idea is so amazing to me. And it feels like you're trying to reach a community that needs to be reached. And it's like a shame that it's not more reached. Like, I'm like, Laura, get out there and do it. Like, do it, because people need you. But you're right. Somebody else might just come with the money and do the same thing and address the same community, unless it's you guys that step up and do it in a bigger way. So
right.
It's so weird. I hadn't thought about that, about somebody actually coming in and doing it with the same idea, because it is such a good idea. And I think that community is just growing. People feeling free to entertain the idea of beauty in any way they want to, regardless of their gender, how they see themselves genderly. I just think I don't know. I think that whole idea is so much our future that I would hope that.
And all the other brands are catching up. I mean, on some level,
right.
Our work is done. I do think that we have impacted the industry. I had a friend who was a consultant to Estee Lauder. She was doing a project with them, and she said, I mean, this was like at least a year or two ago, and on their intranet, they constantly publish all this research and about the beauty industry. And she took a screenshot of like their intranet, which of course I couldn't access, that had this whole report on gender fluid beauty, and it was like all images of our brand and all the stuff that we our campaigns and things like that. And so it's like we've had an impact on the industry for sure. We're in all the trend reports and things like that. So whether or not the brand ends up being financially viable, we've still had an impact. And the cover girls of this world, they've all changed their taglines. So the world in which, I'm trying to remember, Easy Breezy Cover Girl, or what was there's like the hair color ads. It's like, is it natural? Is it now I'm spacing out, but there's kind of key slogans from over the years that were all about like, is that her real beauty, or is that the product? So all the brands traditionally had that marketing message, and that just, it's outdated. And we are a part of the movement to kind of move the beauty industry forward, and whether or not Fluide ends up existing in the future, at least we played a part in changing some of these patriarchal standards of beauty that don't serve anyone.
Oh my gosh. So that to me says a lot about you, and how that you care about that more than making a profit and having a big brand. Like, you care about.
Well, it would be nice. It would be nice.
Yes.
To have a brand, I mean, in a perfect world, exactly, L'Oreal would just buy us, but it's also very easy to just copy us. And you buy a company because exactly their revenues are huge and their product line is huge. And those are all things that we're just not there yet. So, So it's like, is this it's a cottage industry? Is it the small thing where you're just selling to your group and it's little by little expanding, and the margins on the products are good, so you can sell enough to keep going? Or is it, I mean, the vision was right to become a household name. Like, the vision was to like transform the beauty industry and be this new big brand. But yeah, that takes millions of dollars, and I see what it would take to raise that. I kind of get what's involved. I didn't know that before. And then the other idea is a celebrity, right? Like, maybe there is going to be that gender fluid celebrity that we could somehow find and recruit to be a part of the company. If you know anybody, let me know.
Yeah, I'll keep my eyes open.
Your eyes open.
It is true. And sometimes, a lot of people are, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of really good people out there that would step up as a celebrity and say, no, actually, I really like the product. I really like that message, even if there's no money there to, I mean, there's still people that probably would do that you wouldn't have to pay that much just because they really believe in what you do. So, Okay. Hey, so what advice would you give new entrepreneurs for start when they start a business? Like this is a community of entrepreneurs. So what would you say would be some piece of advice you give?
Well, I mean, I think what I said earlier is really important about the fundraising, to really think through the future and like what do you need to get to where you're going? You have to be passionate and excited about your idea or about the product or the service that you're starting. But I wasn't realistic about how much money it would take to launch this. And when I look back, I realized I had various people telling me that. I did know a few people in the beauty industry that I was doing research and, and I just thought, oh, the rules don't apply. This is so different. I'm going to do it differently. Well, that's a little hubristic. So I definitely think really thinking through the financing strategy and not being intimidated by raising money the way I was. It just seemed too hard. So I was like, I'll just do this with very little money, So the finance part is one huge thing to work out, get a lot of advice, talk to as many people as you can from that industry that you're going into. Really have a business plan that covers like where you're going. And then secondarily, it's like the perseverance aspect. Like I do think that's probably the most important piece of advice is really just like the not giving up. Like there's so few things in life you do that are as hard as starting a company and making it succeed. And they're going to have so many setbacks and so many things that make you want to give up. So not giving up is really, at the end of the day, the most important thing, because you can't have the success that you might get in a week, a month, a year if you're closed down or if you give up. So figuring out what is it going to take to sustain you and keep you going and keep giving you the energy so that you can keep going, because it is really hard. I mean, unless you're incredibly lucky and you have that thing that everybody loves and like they just buy it right away. It's like a viral product or something, which happens.
Yeah, it does have it. So tell us some times that you felt like giving up and what were some of those examples of you just being like, no, oh no. What were your worst moments?
Well, the most recent one was probably when we got sued for one of these American Disability Act. The ADA law insists that everything is accessible to blind and deaf people. So websites all have to be accessible. So a screen reader, which, if you're blind, like you can turn on a screen reader and it reads all the alt text on your website. So there's all sorts of rules like color contrast or adding all the alt tags, or like every video has to be subtitled. So if you break a certain number of these rules, or there's some tests that can be done on your website, and then you pay a settlement fee because you broke the law, which is that your website has to be completely accessible to a blind person. And it's a $6 billion industry. And it's mostly the lawyers making money. So there's a handful of blind people whose names are on tens of thousands of lawsuits, and they're just going after companies and running the software through and finding anybody who's selling anything. And there's no exemption for like a small business or anything like that. So it's a California law. California, if you own a business like a yoga studio or a restaurant, if you have 50 employees or more, your parking lot and things like that have to have a handicapped spot. So any physical business has to conform with those laws, but there are all these exemptions for small businesses, whereas online there are no exemptions. So I'm paying, tens of thousands of dollars I've had to pay out for lawyers to redo our website, the settlement fees. It's been really hard, and no blind person is buying makeup, so none of it makes any sense.
Oh, I've seen that. I've gotten some of those. I've gotten some notifications that, hey, this is what we do. Make sure your website is readable.
Yeah. And I warned, I'm in a bunch of different entrepreneur groups, and I warned that one of the groups I'm in, I was just like, hey, I'm going through this right now. Really go deal with your website, like make sure it works. Because there's all sorts of apps that plug in that tell you, and apparently they don't really work. I didn't even have any of the apps, but, and one of the women in my group, like literally 6 weeks later got hit with one of these lawsuits too.
Oh.
So, I mean, it's incredibly common. I mean, this is how it's a $6 billion industry with the lawyers making the money. I'm sure the blind person gets a little bit, but it's all fake. It's not real. It's not like real people are being damaged. It's just like a loophole in the law that lets people make money.
Well, and if there's somebody in our community that thinks, gosh, I could go in and fix websites to make them all compliant, that would be an incredible business to do.
Yeah, there are people doing that. Right. I hired one of those people. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, your website is a living, breathing thing. It's constantly changing. So every time we put up a new image, the color contrast may not be strong enough, or, there's all sorts of things like that. Like if you have text against a background, and this is one of the problems. Like, as the older I get, the worse my eyesight gets. So I do want like that black text on a white background, but like all my designers and everyone's like young and they're like, it's like purple against pink or whatever. And I'm like, that's going to fail the screen test,
Oh my God.
Yeah. But there've been so many setbacks. There have been so many struggles. We got a first shipment of product that like a tiny percentage of them were damaged. Like you would open the liquid lipstick and the wand would just break. It was just like assembled wrong. And so like the pressure of pulling it out of the tube would break it. And it was really hard to tell there was no rhyme or reason to it. We had 8 shades. It wasn't like, oh, that shade is messed up. It was that like, I think it was like 10% of them were broken. And, we went back and forth trying to figure out what to do, because shipping it all back to China to have the factory messed up. They had like a faulty product in there. And yet the cost of just redoing the entire order and all the shipping was so astronomical that we decided instead to test each one. So we opened every single of all 12,000 lipsticks, each one, and pulled out the bad ones. But yeah, like that was another one of these things where you're like, what, really?
Was it you opening these things up? Because I used to
have that was again, yeah, that was like the mom power. Like I hired like a bunch of teenagers over like the course of 6 months. We'd be like, okay, everybody take 500 of these home and then come back and give me the good ones and we'll throw out the bad ones.
Oh my gosh.
Then I got compensated for all the bad ones. And, but it was just like things like that, like weird things that happen that you're just like, or packages being lost. I mean, major shipments being lost in the mail and things like that. So yeah, there's just the setbacks keep coming. So you gotta, at a certain point after that lipstick failure, there's been a few things, the more bad things that happen, you just really do adapt Murphy's Law, whatever bad thing that could happen will happen. So you just have to, okay, this happened, keep going.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. Well, I would love to open it up for questions because it's perfect time for that. So I really appreciate all the wonderful stories you've shared and all the information. It's been so good. I'm so proud of what you're doing. And I'm glad to know you because I feel like more people that are making a big difference. We need this. We need people that are going to represent or recognize the beauty in all people like you do and like your company support. So I really appreciate what you do. And I would like to just open it up for questions. If anybody wants to just unmute yourself, ask a question, you can also put the question in the chat box if you'd like. Anybody? Oh, I see somebody has their hand raised, but I can't see who it is. Who wants to ask a question? Oh, go ahead.
Alma.
Oh, Alma, yay.
I don't have a question. All I have to say is I love everything your company stands for. And I'm actually excited to see you guys make billions and billions and a lot of money. It's a wonderful business. I'm so excited about that. And
thank you.
I'm wishing you the best of luck as you won't need it. And everything you said just was like, man, I like that. I like that. That is pretty awesome. And that you involve everybody in every community. It's just, like I said, I'm so excited. I just want to let it all out before all the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That means so much to hear. I really appreciate that.
And I just wanted to say thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful business.
Oh. Now, Alma is in my global entrepreneurship class, and we talk about, like expanding internationally and, how do you do that? So you mentioned before we really started the recording, like what what the challenges are to start, going overseas. Would you just talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, well, this is once again is specific to cosmetics, but cosmetics are highly regulated in most countries other than the US. And so there's all sorts of rules around, mostly it's to protect the consumer so that, let's say you buy something and then you have an allergic reaction or you go blind from the eyeliner, like some horrible thing happens. Who do you call? Like, who do you take it up with? Who do you sue? And so it's called a responsible party in most countries. So if you're an American company doing business in France or Mexico or, wherever, that there's some local entity that has a phone number and address that's a business that you can turn to, or that the government can turn to and say, hey, what's going on with this product? So that's kind of the first thing, is you have to have like a representative in that country. And then your ingredients have to be vetted. The ingredients of your products have to, like, is this allowed? Like, is this a legal ingredient here? And then the third step, so then most countries have like a registration system where you like apply to sell and you list all your ingredients, and then they have to vet them and make sure that you have the right information on the packaging. And then the last thing is claims. So a lot of skincare makes claims like, your wrinkles will magically erase, or like this will get your pimple to go away, or, so they don't want you to lie to consumers. And this is a lot like in the supplement industry as well, like this vitamin will turn you, into a Superman, or, like, so they're trying to protect customers from, reading something and saying, yes, I'll spend $500 on this thing that's going to make my wrinkles go away. And it doesn't work. So they have to evaluate all your packaging, everything you say, so that to make sure that you're not like lying or making some crazy claim. So that's just like a multi-step process. And most companies hire someone to do that for them who's on the ground in that country, or whose business it is to register cosmetics companies or skincare or supplements or whatever the thing, regulated industry. I don't think for clothes it's the same, but so that's kind of the problem is, then you're paying a whole other third party to all this money to get you legal there. And I haven't done that yet.
Because he said it was like $30,000 a country.
Well, it depends on your product line. So if you like, once again, it's like usually by SKU. So if we have, 60 SKUs, each one has to get registered. So it could be 5,000, it could be 50,000, depending on how many SKUs and what your ingredients are. And then a lot of countries want you to have different language on the box. So France has always been very specific. And since from the beginning, we wanted to be able to ship to Canada, our packaging does have like French, like it'll say like, it'll have the title of the product in French in smaller letters, and we'll have the instructions how to use it in French as well. But like, you're supposed to have it in German. If you're selling in Germany, you're supposed to have it in Spanish. If you're selling in Spain or Mexico, or, so, that's once again, it's like a barrier to entry to small brands. Because if you're L'Oreal or Maybelline or Revlon, you're manufacturing so many products, you manufacture one set for the Spanish speaking market, one for the French market, whereas for us, we can't afford to make, because we have minimum order quantities when we buy things. So anyways, it's complicated, unfortunately.
Wow. Now, you said something about how sometimes you send boxes of cosmetics to other countries for people to sell. So as a wholesaler, is that true? Do you do some sales overseas? No. Okay.
I mean, it's technically illegal, right? Because
Okay.
we don't have distribution there.
Okay. So like if somebody got online, they're from London, just a customer is like, oh my God, I love this product. And then they buy it. Can you ship just to it? Not even that. Oh my God.
So it wouldn't be worth it, because it would cost $35 to ship and they'd pay me $15 for the product or something,
Yeah.
So I would lose money to begin with. You have to have distribution so you can ship over a big batch of stuff all at once. And B, I don't even think you can do that. Sell direct to a consumer. I think I don't know though. I'm not 100% sure.
Interesting. All right. So Gladys is asking, I remember my first day of business, I sold $150 on a snowy day to top it off. Do you remember your first sale? Like, when was your first sale? How was that?
This is a good question. No, too, then when can we sustain? Yeah. That's a great question. So we did a launch party when we first launched, and a lot of our friends came to the party and they bought from us. So that, our Shopify site went live that day, and then we had a party. And so people, friends, each, most of our friends would buy one thing just to like show solidarity or something like that. But, and I think, your question is really interesting in terms of what is our revenue and what amount would make you feel like your business can be sustainable. That's something else I could have brought up when Becky, when you asked earlier around what would you tell an entrepreneur today is, because part of it is like, where are you trying to go? And I think in the CPG world, we think a lot about like a lifestyle business versus an acquisition business. So are we trying to build something where like, hey, I buy 20,000 units of makeup for $1.50 each, and I sell those for $10. So I'm making that margin. And over the course of a year of selling those 20,000 units, I can make $90,000 or, like that's a nice business. Or are we trying to have a business whereby we build it up and then raise $5 million and go global, or then get acquired by Estee Lauder, or, so what are your goals and what are you trying to do? And so right now we've still been investing all of our profits into the business. So we're not taking money out. I mean, on paper, we're in the red, because if we sold $10,000 of profit, a product, then we take that $10,000 and we buy more, or we take that $10,000 and we, send out influencer packages or buy ads on Instagram, so we're always trying to grow. And we're not just saying, okay, great, we've got, I'm trying to think how many customers we have in our database. I want to say like 20,000 people have bought from us over the last 4 years. Probably not that much, maybe 10,000. That should be good. If we could get those people to keep buying every 6 months, then you're like, okay, you don't have to keep growing so much. What if you just sold to those same people again and again, but you'd still be having to invest in new product and all that. So I don't actually know, like, that's one of my problems is that, since I was trying to raise capital and then take this company to the next level, and I wasn't able to do it, my goals for what it would take. I think that $1 million mark is still a goal. Like, we're not anywhere near that right now, but I feel like that is a goal. Like, if we could get $1 million in revenue, a lot of doors would open in terms of investors or potential acquisition or partnerships. We'd be sort of taken more seriously by the larger business community.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Well, our time is up. It's about 10:45. I appreciate you being here, Laura, so much. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for all the kind words and the support from all of you, and good luck in your entrepreneurial journey. And you can find me, I'm on LinkedIn, also just laura@fluide.us. Feel free to email me any questions.
And your website is wearefluide.com?
It's either, you can do wearefluide.com or just fluid with an E at the end, .us also.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much. And if anybody, we're having another session today with Laura Madrid, who's with Lala Bakery at